Okay, so welcome to COFMUG for April, also with the wonderful background noise of the Foundries today. So today's function of the day is window names, which we just figured out is a keyword, a reserved word that you don't actually need the any of the parameters for. So you take a look at window names without any words. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Yeah, you can zoom in on that. If you do it just without any of the parameters, or actually I think if you do it with, does that work? Nope, that doesn't work. Can't do that way. So if you do it without any parameters, you get the name of all of the windows that are open for FileMaker. But if you want, you can also do it specifically to a specified file by name. So
Code faster.
It is. It's totally Mario music. So you can do window names by a hard-coded string, or you can do it by using another function like get file name. Turn on automatically evaluate. So it gives you kind of an idea. So things, if you want to code your own window tracking functions, this is obviously the feature you're going to start with. Still better. Still better. We have to keep telling ourselves that it's better.
The 747 is going to crash through the ceiling. It's still quieter than those stickers.
So if you want to do window cycling, like you want to select the window, you want to check to see if the window is open or not. You want to check to see how many versions of a window you have open. If you use like new window and it automatically puts the -2, -3, -4 on, you'll be able to check to see that. And you'll be able to validate that, yes, that window is open before you attempt to send a closed window instruction. So obviously that is the syntax, and those are the results. It's a return delimited list, so you could also do like value count of this result to see if it's equal to 1 or greater than 1. Check to see if you have multiple windows or your single window. All types of useful things you can do for that. And I did not make a demo file for that because we were just playing around with it during the meeting. So yeah, this meeting today is going to be a little bit rushed, given that our background circumstance is island music and tool noise. So next month at Falls on Air, I'll be giving a demonstration that is essentially designed to kind of give inspiration to FileMaker developers for things they can learn and take from web apps that we've been using for years now and apply them to designs in FileMaker. So things like date pickers and calendar selectors and time selectors, like FileMaker doesn't have a native time selector, and jQuery has really good time selectors.
Select multiple.
Select multiple dates.
No, select multiple values.
Yeah. So there's a number of these different functions or widgets that you can use on the web that you can't use in FileMaker because they don't have that native object, but we can build those. So, for example, Modular FileMaker is a place that's had a lot of these. Oh no, request to the server have been blocked by an extension. Alright, what's Todd Guys doing on his? I didn't want Todd to track me, so. Oh, yeah, sorry. Stop work. There we go. So, we have modules, and there's a very good time pop module that came out from Joshua Willing. That essentially gives you this nice time picker. So click on a field, it's popover based, you have hours that go up and down, minutes that go up and down, PM, AM, toggle, and now button. So this is based loosely off of a similar package that or a similar widget that he found for jQuery. So rather than
What data type is that bind to?
what data type does it bind to?
Number field.
Multiple, it supports multiple.
Oh.
They'll actually say copy it, change the script parameters. So a lot of times things will, in these modules, the results of it will get dumped out either as a script result that you can pull or as a global variable that you can pull as well. So it depends on the package.
Probably use it as a string now.
No, it'll be returned as time. Time is a typecast in FileMaker. So this is what we're shooting for. So let me introduce you to the package that I've been working on ripping apart. So this is a JavaScript package called SweetAlert that I've been using for my Laravel and Vue.js projects. And essentially, all it does is it gives you nice looking alerts on your screen that aren't these. This is a default JavaScript alert. It pops up at the top of your browser. It's not very pleasant to look at by any means. It's just kind of a plain alert. So SweetAlert transforms that into something like this, where it's giving you a nice little window with all sorts of actions associated with it. So there's multiple options for specifying buttons. You know, they have advanced examples in here, customizing buttons, this kind of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, but at the heart of it, rather than having to code each one of these alerts yourself, the main reason for you to use this in a modular fashion is that you can just send an array of parameters to this, and it generates this alert for you, sends you the results back. So I don't have to recode this each time. I can just take this package and actually install it. The installation is ridiculously simple for this in web. It's one line of code, or 2 lines of code. One command line, that command, node package manager install SweetAlert --save, will pull that code into my application. Then in my application, all I need to do to use it is to import SWAL parentheses. So SWAL is just short for SweetAlert. They also have a CDN version, so you can copy and paste this one line of code into your web page and just start using it immediately. And then the JavaScript is just one command. The basic JavaScript command is SWAL hello world, and that gives you this dialog box. Hello world, you get an OK button. This is a basic dialog. This one adds a title. There's the text. There's OK. This one adds an image, title, text, OK. So as it's walking this documentation, you're learning more and more about what this package does. Customizing the button names. This one is if you click anywhere outside of it, it returns something different versus if you hit the OK button. This one is danger mode, where it turns this button red for you. And you can do multi-stage alerts. So this whole package will do all of that with 1 line or 2 lines of code to install it. You can just immediately start using it. So
Is this free or is it?
it's open source. MIT license, it's on GitHub. It is MIT license. So this is not FileMaker. That's JavaScript. So unless you're writing JavaScript, HTML stuff, you're not going to be using it. This is our inspiration for what we want to do in FileMaker. So to do this in FileMaker, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of promise-based programming. So what promise-based programming is that when you're using an external library, something you didn't build, like an API call, when you make that call, you're going to want a response back from whatever you're making that call to. That's just, you're asking that application to promise to return something to you, even if it's a false result. Most of the time in JavaScript, this is technically referred to as asynchronous. We're really stepping it up. You're
I used to dance like that.
3 steps every 10 minutes? Yeah. So an asynchronous request is where you send the request to the server and then you wait for the response to come. So promise-based programming is very similar to that. In FileMaker, what that means is that, especially in this case, I want to store everything that does that alert-based stuff in another file separately. It's going to be in its own file. That way I can take that file anywhere to any server, plug it in place, and use it the same way I would in any file. And I don't have to copy and paste a bunch of layouts. I don't have to copy and paste a bunch of custom functions, lists, etc. So anytime you're putting all of this modular stuff in a different FileMaker file and then referencing that separate file, that's this type of promise-based or modular-based or asynchronous-based scripting that we're going to do. Now, a lot of times, people will do something where this becomes a challenge in FileMaker is a lot of times people will use 2 scripts to perform that round trip. They'll perform a script that opens up that file, does some stuff, and then exits. And then it's up to that other file to run another script to talk back to the first file. But if you're developing something that's truly modular, that has no knowledge of the parent file whatsoever, you can't do it that way. Because then you would have to open up that modular file, create the reference that points back to the original parent file. And so it's no longer really all that modular, in my opinion. You know, there are modules that will have it as part of their installation process. But if I want to use this same alerts-based utility on 10 separate files on the same server, but only host this, then I need to do it in that asynchronous, that fashion. So the way we do that in FileMaker is by running a script that pauses, waits for the action to be performed, and then once the action is performed, it completes the original script. So bear with me for a minute, because this is going to be a lot of zooming in to show you how this is done. So let's start actually in this demo file. So this is the demo that I came up with. It's not pretty. I haven't spent a lot of time on interface yet. So this is what that alert looks like. Hit OK, and I get back a result from that. You never see this file during that process. The alert comes up, but the layout that's currently being displayed here is from that other file. Hit OK, there you go. So to prove that to you, there are no other layouts in this demo file. No layout mode, weird trickery or anything. There's nothing up my sleeve. So you see that's got a sample message in it, and it's got, okay, there we go. And you see when I get this back, it's giving me the time that started, so the time that dialog opened, the end time, so it was open for 4 seconds. The message choice is 1, and input received, which we don't have an input box, so that's blank value. So in order to do this, when you're scripting here, this is the demo alerts. Really all you're looking at is everything from here. Everything below that just repeats, and then at the end I have a dialog to show the result that came back. So everything from here up is what we're looking at. The first 4 lines is just your standard run-of-the-mill check and make sure that the script received the parameter. If not, exit out of the script because we don't know what we're doing. Then your if is just which button it's running. So if is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And then everything else just comes down to these 3 steps. So very simply, we're setting the parameters that we're going to send to the alerts file to generate our alert. We're performing that script. FMswal from file FMswal, and we're passing it our parameters that we just created in the line above. And then that script does everything. Does the opening, the determining which layout to go to, setting all the global variables that go into that layout, clearing them when it's done, and everything like that. And then when we're done, we just get the result of that script. Get script result is just a function that we set result with. And then all the way down at the end of this, we take that result and we split it up into its different components. And that looks like this. I really wish this was a little wider, sorry. So I'm using a list function, start time, end time, message choice, and for received, and then JSON get element. So both the requests and the results are going back and forth in JSON. And the reason for that is that now that it's available in FileMaker, you should use it for anything that requires more than one parameter. You don't have to worry about custom functions. You don't have to worry about structured data. Your parameters can be in any order. They just make it there. So on the end, we're getting out of that JSON result, we're getting start time, end time, message choice, and received. And that's it. That's all it is. So that's the easy script. So the harder script is in the other one. You see, I did cancel there, message choice. So in the other file, which I've minimized, this is where everything is up here. So I still need to create a home screen for this because it's just right into the cards. I guess this is the home screen. So you'll see we have our different layouts for every one of our types of cards. We've got our basic card. We've got our basic alt card, which shows the alt button. We've got our basic input card that has an input box where you put in information. Basic alt input that has both the alt button and the input. And then all the same ones of those except with the title shown. So on this side, what we're doing, actually let me show you back in this one what those parameters look like. I can hear Christian going, "Oh, Monkey Bread software can zoom in on that." Right. So here we're just doing JSON set element with cancel button, alt button, danger mode, false. These are some booleans. We've got some strings, and we've got some numbers to be able to set our window height and width and offset if we want to set that stuff. You'll notice a lot of these are just blank because for this basic example, we're not sending a lot. We're sending OK, we're sending cancel, sample message. Huh? Because I'm checking for empty. I'm not using JSON. Because on the other end, I'm checking for empty. And then that way, people don't have to look up the documentation for what typecasting is window height. Like, do I have to specify 100 point, 100 inches? Like, yeah. It's just, it's workable in its simplest form right now. Over time, it might get more or less complex. Because you could do nested JSON as well, where you send it a window object that has the dimensions of that object and the units of measurement. as a separate parameter. Not that complicated yet. So that's just assembling your parameter there. And then on this side, we're doing the same thing. Set variable start time, checking the parameter to see if there's anything there. And now we're going to explode our constants. So this is where, for the life cycle of this alert window, we're making all the global variables that we need. And those are just really simple case statements that are wrapping around if that cancel button is true, then true, otherwise false. So we're setting our own like local versions of those variables here. Titles, message body, the input field, you can do a label and a placeholder, the footer buttons area, the message that goes on the cancel button, the confirm, and then the dimensions are all there. Obviously, this is still a work in progress, so I haven't actually done anything different with high contrast mode or danger mode yet. Eventually, I'll work in something that, like, where conditional formatting makes the background black and the text white if high contrast is activated, that type of stuff. So I'm still building this out as we go along. It's one of those things where you can probably keep adding to it forever. You can. I will make you a $3,000 swing if you want that. And cards. Yeah. So the next thing to do after we put our our lifecycle variables together, now we're going to actually spawn that window depending on those conditions. So, like, you'll see from this uses the layout, SWAL card, title, alt, input. So that means it has a title, it has the alt button showing, and it has the input button showing. So we need to check for all those conditions just like that. So if alt button's a Boolean, so we can just, that's if this is true. And not is empty title text, so this is why I'm passing empty strings instead of nulls. Because FileMaker doesn't technically have a is null function. It's only inside the JSON. And not as empty input. So I'm checking for all three of those conditions, then using that window. And then I'm checking for each one of those sequentially all the way down until if none of those are true, then just return to me the basic card layout that just has the message and the button. Good to go. All right. So here's where the magic happens. Pause resume script indefinitely. So it's just going to indefinitely sit here with this incomplete script run. Everything that happens below this point is happening when the script is manually resumed by an action from the user. Otherwise, it'll just sit with that alert open because there's no close button on any of those card windows. It'll just sit with that alert open until either they quit out of FileMaker or they manually press to do an alert. So once they do press to do an alert, you get end time, and it'll get turn times down. Then it's just a matter of assembling those results that we're going to pass back down. Here we're doing message choice. So we're converting that message choice into a number value. Then we've got input received, in case they entered a value in our global field, start time and end time. And that's it. And that gets passed down to whatever file called this and turned into the results in those. Clean up after ourselves, I always write a destroy function. And that's just going to unset all of our global variables so that when you look at the data viewer, there's not a whole bunch of other things open. Close window and exit script with the result. So close window closes our alert window, and exit script with the results sends it back. So what exactly is the user action that's happening? And that's just very easily, it's button handler. Button handler is setting a global variable of message choice with a value of whatever parameter is passed to it. So that value is going to be confirm, cancel, alternate, or empty. And then it is doing pause resume script. Actually, I don't think I have to have that in there anymore. Let me just test that. Yeah. All right. I was playing around earlier with trying to make stuff happen. So that's really all I need is that set variable there. I've got a trigger action for, in the first attempt that I made at this, I put in a trigger action to detect the escape key. That's what this is. Unfortunately, this doesn't do anything for a reason I'll show you here in a second. But that is, that's it. That's all the scripts that are required to put this module together. And if you look at that file, you know, it's just layouts, scripts, and that's it. There's no custom functions that I use to do this. Nothing up the sleeve, again. So let's take a look at one of these buttons. Now you'll notice that instead of actual buttons, I used merge text fields because you can't use calculations as button names in the button dialog, right? It's kind of annoying actually, but like if I make a new button here, I can't put a calculation here. I can only put text as the name. So that's why I'm using text fields that are transformed into buttons. And if you look at your stack, you can see group button. There's the text in there.
Is there an advantage over segments?
Huh?
That's going to there's an advantage over segments there.
Over segments, appearance. I was going for the appearance more of what the web package looked like, which had separate buttons. Yeah.
Separate buttons.
Separate buttons. But I mean, you can see on this layout, there's not much going on. It's just the merge field for the content and these two buttons. The buttons have hide conditions to show whether or not some condition is met. Like this red one for danger mode is going to hide if not danger mode. And the cancel button is going to hide if not cancel button. So, you know, as you progress through each one of these dialogues, you get kind of these different outputs with the title, without the title, that type of thing. So I could build more layouts till I'm blue in the face. If I want to do color themes, I could duplicate each one and do each one with its own color theme. The point of doing modular development like this is you're only doing it once in this one place and you never have to do it again. You just add that parameter to whatever you're requesting, you're good to go. Oh, right, I didn't actually tell you what I was going to tell you. So what this actually does as a button is it runs that button handler with a parameter, right? Confirmed, that's a confirm button because danger mode technically confirms. But this menu down here, which I swear to God I've never used before like this month, will actually let you control how that script was performed. So by default, this has pause current script. So if I was pausing that parent script, then running the button handler, then going back to the parent script, it's still paused because nothing ever resumed that script. But if I just flip this to resume current script, it will run the script that's attached to this button and then resume the original script as well. Lovely. You also have exit and halt there for, you know, if you have it, I don't know if I have a use case for that, but, you know.
So you use halt when you've got like a automation interface.
Yeah.
That can run 1,000 different things, and it runs them all in sequence, generates logs or whatever. If the thing starts running away with itself, and you don't have any control anymore, you can just press the button.
Press the button on there.
Press the button.
If you can press it in between, like, the string don't forget. I mean, I know the use case for halt script.
Yeah. Well, just being able to tie it to a button is nice, where it's whatever the script is that the button runs can do a halt even if the script doesn't do a halt. Because literally this button shot any code that the script will do.
See that? Alright, so the reason why the escape key doesn't work is because that is based on a layout trigger. And that layout trigger, which is on layout keystroke, which is going to detect a key has been pressed while you're on this layout, do that. When I go to select this script, you'll notice that that little menu that says resume script is now missing. There is no resume script step. It is only a button attribute. The script step is only pause and resume script. There is no specific resume script step. Technically, it would be like resume stack. Hold on, we're getting a message from Beverly. Let's see what she says. Yeah, there's a way to do it. No, she just said no. Right. Probably back when the Mario Kart music starts playing upstairs. So since we can't do that, I cannot detect yet. I'll have to figure out a way to do it because I'm sure there is a way to do it. I can't detect yet that the escape key has been pressed. Probably how I'll do it is have just a timer script that does every 1 second, checks to see if a status flag has been set, and if it has, then jump out. Otherwise, recall it.
Just tell people that the escape key has been demonstrated.
Okay, FileMaker.
Okay, Apple.
Okay.
The escape automatically dismisses the card window. No problem.
The escape will not dismiss the card window because it can't do the resume script action. And I can't, in this file, the alerts file, I cannot reference the parent file to perform a script in that file via the escape.
Okay.
So probably,
So you want the really horrible answer?
yeah, well, I know the real horrible answer. The real horrible answer is going to be this set of variable peg.
I got an easier. So when you hit the escape key, your script is working great. The thing is that what it needs to do is press a button.
Okay.
You would go to object
Yeah.
to press the button and let the button do the resume. So you have a hidden button or something like that.
But you stopped development here.
Because I'd already answered all of these questions. What?
So, wait, what is it?
No, it's, we used to do a lot more of this kind of stuff in really, really old FileMaker. For example, in FileMaker 2 era, there was
Does it
no
go to
relation-
field or go to,
Go to object.
object.
yeah.
Go to object. Fine.
Yeah, we'll press the button.
They won't press the button.
Field with a trigger.
That'll just suffer from the same thing. Because
Will
the,
enter work on a button. But it's still not going to push the button.
Yeah.
It runs a script that's on the button.
it'll just select the button, but I can't press the enter key program out. And then what?
Unread software?
Right.
Another dependency.
And this is the weird conundrums that you have to overcome. So the way I would do it, as I delete my thing, would be set
Sorry about
variable
that.
status as escape or something. And then I would get rid of the button handler. And what I would do is back in here, I would put this in a loop. Pause script for duration like 1 second. Exit loop if status equals escape. Comment that out. And then what I need to do in my button handler is set that status as well. So now I'm sure this will probably work. So I'm going to leave this up a couple seconds. You can see the mouse cursor blinking every. So if I click escape, there we go. That happens. And if I. Nice, that I didn't press anything. That just. Because the global variable didn't get
Get reset.
There we go. You know, things are clicking off in your head. Set a flag you never unset. Yeah. And we'll set variable status. There we go. So that should go one more time automatically, and now it shouldn't close. It's not closing, it's blinking, but if I click OK. So that's almost it is going faster than I thought it would. It's pretty instantaneous, right? Well, it doesn't, it seems like when I'm clicking, it's not waiting the full second, though, for the pause. Oh, because I'm clicking the resume script, that's why. So it's not pausing.
It's
It's the escape that I need to try. All right, let's see if I can time this. Yep. So there was like a half-second delay on the escape. I mean, technically, I could make it like 0.1 seconds and have it just obnoxiously on the cursor, but like, so like that's the type of stuff you have to think about. It's kind of hacky, but it works. There's the escape key. So what I could do after this then is make that an option for if you want to handle escape. So I take a JSON parameter of, do you want to handle the escape key? And then in my script, I now wrap these two separate things. If detect escape, use this method. Otherwise, just do this. And then I unset this variable as part of my destroy. Thank you. The wrapping has started.
We are done with Mario.
Done with the Mario music. So now status is done, and now we just need to check this case.
Next hallway over back this way.
It's that way. It's on that way, one aisle over. No, just go.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just head as far away from the wrapping as you can.
If you go, if you go out and then take your first left over there, you'll see the signs. All right, so let's say for detect escape, I want false for now because I haven't coded that in anywhere. So there you go. Now I can detect escape, except now, since I set that to false, I can't detect escape, but I can still do that. So if I turn that to true, then it works. All right.
I think we should go out there and yell about FileMaker at them.
You can do that. We'll be right behind you. All right. So the rest of these demos in this file are just variations, slight variations that are passing different parameters. Here's the title. There's the custom cancel message. No way. Adding an alt button. That one's not working yet. Adding danger mode. There's danger mode. You get the red button. So that one.
Your red is a different color.
And you don't have that little.
I'm using FileMaker theme colors. That's why. There's the input. I didn't specify that it's wide and long enough. So I need to change the minimum heights to check for that. Like if somebody says, the problem with FileMaker is it doesn't do sliding in browser.
But that's certainly one of the problems.
No, it's not a problem.
No problem.
If they fix that, then we can say, okay, stop releasing versions. And that's why they won't fix it. Because they know that one thing would stop people from buying it. They'll just all get perpetual license. Be happy with version. Whatever. I'm joking. I really am. All right, so that's it. That was a short presentation. So things to keep in mind is if you see something that's cool on a website, like you're filling out a form and you say like, I really want to do caption FileMaker, you can do that. I don't know why, but you can. And it doesn't always necessarily mean that you're going to have to do some web viewer integration. All of this, no web viewer pieces to it. Although I might add a web viewer to do the animated icons later. I don't know. It'll be optional if I do add them. But this isn't dependent on any external technology. There are some caveats to doing this style of thing though. Like this is definitely not WebDirect compatible.
What about iOS?
It will work on iOS because card windows work on iOS. Won't do anything in CWP, won't do anything as a server script. But I haven't built in all those pieces to this file yet to send back a response that says, I don't know what you're trying to do, you're on the server, there is some customization that you'll want to do to implement this in your own solution, of course. Like, to do something with the result you get back from the dialogue is, you have to do something. You have to read out the result and do something with it. What else was there? So WebDirect is not compatible. WebDirect is not compatible for a very weird reason, and it has to do with how multiple files are handled. Also, card windows don't work on WebDirect right now. But I was specifically pointing out that multiple files don't work well with WebDirect. I don't know why either. No, sorry. And here's the thing, like a lot of people, when they go to WebDirect from older than FileMaker 7 solutions, where their files are all tied together, but they're all different files for each table, you can only have one of those open at a time. If you open another file, or you open a card window, or you open a new window, it opens a new window and a new WebDirect session for that tab. So you are now taking up 2 user licenses with the same user account on the server. I mean, technically, you can make it work in some form. You just can't make it work in this modular fashion. Yeah, maybe they'll fix it someday. Because that really pisses off people that have, files, the data separation model that open their data file hidden.
Right.
They have to work around that for WebDirect. Well, now that it's team licensing, though, there's a lot less people using WebDirect because FileMaker Pro is the same cost as WebDirect's advantage is now you just don't have to install anything. So it's a different conversation for a different day. But all right, so that's the gist of building your own modular thing in FileMaker. So I know that Todd has been talking around the community that Modular FileMaker 2.0 is coming. I'm assuming he's going to launch it at DevCon because what better place to launch than at DevCon?
I have no detailed information.
Oh, I was. You're just sitting on the other end of the table for me. Okay. I'll look at the screen behind me. No, but once Modular FileMaker 2.0 comes out, there's going to be a big community vacuum that draws people to that site to populate it with cool things. And if you look at the feed now, it's once every 3 months or so somebody's rolling something out. So if you see something cool, even if you don't plan to build that modular yourself, take a picture of it and post it there or bring it to a meeting or something and say, I think this would be a cool FileMaker thing. Do that. I think the coolest thing about this is that you can do this as its own little mini window and you don't need anything. So you don't need that other file open in FileMaker. This layout's coming from a different file entirely, but showing in this file, in the confines of this file, as the server. I think the guy is saying turn it up. Yeah, alright. That is COFMUG for April. I'm cutting off the recording for sake of if he starts spewing explicit lyrics, I won't be able to post it to YouTube anymore. Alright.